No. Alright. Oh. Okay, let's start now.
Sounds good.
اوكي، السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. النهارده والله ورشة أنا كنت مستنيها من زمان جدا لعدة أسباب كتيرة يعني. إن الدكتورة شرفتنا كتير، يعني في دول الخليج. كان ليها كذا لقاء يعني في أكتر من دولة عربية. إن شاء الله قريبا تكون في مصر. واللقاء ده كان عامل لي عقدة وأنا بذاكر في الاي بي اي، يعني كان معقدني في نفسي، أو كان معقدني في المذاكرة اللي هو الاف سي تي. فانا اخترت يعني هي عرضت لي حوالي اكتر من 30 موضوع، منها انا اخترت الموضوع ده. الدكتوره طبعا الصوت مش واضح. الصوت مش واضح يا شباب. لو واضح اكتبوا واحد. اوكي. فانا اخترت تقريبا من ضمن يعني موضوعات كتير جدا الموضوع ده، لحبي فيه برضه بعد ما درسته كويس يعني. طيب دلوقتي هي دكتوره غنيه عن التعريف، ولكن انا هسمح لها ان هي تعرف نفسها. اوكي دكتور, I think everyone here is know who are you, but I need you also to introduce yourself first.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Dr. Megan. You'll see on the slide it says Miller, but
Yeah,
on
we
my
can
thing,
see it. Yeah.
DeLeon. I go by both. I'm a behavior analyst and I live in Florida, but I travel quite a bit and work all around the world. And I've done quite a bit in the Middle East, in Egypt, and I go to the United Arab Emirates pretty often as well.
Did you come to Egypt?
Yes, I've been to
Really?
Egypt 3 times, Cairo mostly.
For visiting, or for يعني tourist, or for teaching someone, or what?
For teaching, I did some training on the peak
Mm.
assessment
Okay. Okay.
and consulting at a center there.
واو ما شاء الله. اوكي طب هي بتقول ان هي يعني سبحان الله جت مصر في عام 2019، يمكن 3 مرات بتقول نزلت مصر. وهي عندها بي اتش دي، يعني عندها دكتوراه في تحليل السلوك التطبيقي، وهي BCBA-D، يعني بتكون مشرفه على المشرفين تحليل السلوك التطبيقي، وهو BCBA. فما شاء الله هنتكلم النهارده ان شاء الله عن ورشه عن الاف سي تي، وهي هتبدا معاكم وانا هترجم ان شاء الله. اوكي دكتور, you can start. We are waiting for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Today, we're going to talk about functional communication training, behavioral skills training, and demand fading. It's important to note this is an overview because we don't have all day to do the training. So it's information to help you understand the concepts and some of the best practices, but of course, there's always more to learn.
اوكي، يعني هي بتقول النهارده هتشرح عن 3 حاجات: الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج، او التواصل الوظيفي. بدل ما نعمل السلوك المشكل يعني، او سلوك فيه مشكله، هنحاول نعدله من ده لسلوك وظيفي. والبيهيفير سكيلز تريننج، ازاي بدرب الطفل على ان هو يعمل السلوك بشكل صح ويعممه في البيئه الاجتماعيه. والديمون فيدنج، ازاي بخلي الطفل يعتمد يعني على نفسه مستقبلا. هي هتشرح ازاي تفهم المصطلحات دي بالترتيب. مش هتقدر طبعا تعمل تريننج لان التريننج هياخد وقت. يس دكتور.
Another piece I want to say as a little bit of a disclaimer before we start, I'm focusing on these 3 procedures. When we look at behavioral skills training and FCT and demand fading, we are focusing on function-based treatment. I'll pause there.
No, it's okay.
But there's all of these areas that we want to consider before we even look at function-based treatment. So in my practice and the trainings that I provide, I teach people how to build connected relationships and then assess emotional regulation, these big 4 preventative skills, and executive functioning before I would even focus on the function-based treatment. Obviously, we won't have time to talk about all of that today, but I do want to make sure everyone understands the sequence in which we would target these skills. So if we're going to use different function-based treatments, in my clinical experience, they are most effective if we're also looking at these different areas first.
واو. هي بتقول ان هي ان شاء الله هتشرح عن المصطلحات زي ما احنا قلنا اللي فاتت، ولكن هتعتمد في شرحها على حاجتين. الحاجه هي مراجع هي جايباها، وكمان الفانكشن بيز تريتمنت، يعني من خلال جلساتها العلاجيه او تجاربها مع الاطفال ايه اللي شافته جاب نتيجه، هتشرحه كمان هنا. اوكي دكتور.
Typically, when people are using these procedures that I'm going to talk about today, if they're not effective, it's because they're trying to use a function-based treatment and the client doesn't yet have the skills within usually emotional regulation, but these other areas as well.
بتقول ان هو غالبا السلوك المشكل بيحصل لما يكون الطفل مش عنده المهارة او مش عارف يعمل المهارة او لأغراض تانية هتشرحها دلوقتي. يس دكتور.
The first one we're going to talk about is functional communication training.
اول حاجة هنتكلم عنها هي الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج. اوكي.
When we are using functional communication training, we are teaching a client to engage in a replacement behavior based on function. Therefore, we would need to know why this client is engaging in challenging behavior in the first place. What does their behavior communicate? What is it getting them from the environment?
هو الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج يعني طريقة التواصل عن طريق ان انا بعرف الوظيفة او بعلمه طريقة وظيفية للتواصل، هنشرحها بالتفصيل دلوقتي. بس قالت ان انا بدرب المتعلم على ان هو ينخرط او يعمل سلوك بديل مناسب للمجتمع بدل السلوك الغير بديل اللي هو بيعمله. زي مثلا طفل بيعيط عشان ياخد شوكولاتة، فانا بعلمه ازاي يتواصل وياخد الشوكولاتة بس باسلوب تاني، تواصل فعال. عشان أعمل ده لازم أسأل نفسي سؤال مهم جدا، إيه هي وظيفة السلوك ده؟ يس دكتور.
We also need to identify an appropriate replacement. Appropriate means it's very easy for the person to engage in that replacement behavior and it meets the same need. So if they're engaging in challenging behavior to get away from something, the replacement behavior also needs to get them away from whatever it is. So if they're working and they're engaging in aggression to try to not work, whatever replacement behavior we choose needs to result in them not working as well.
اوكي. قاعد عشان وانا بعلمه السلوك البديل ده هنشرحه بالامثله دلوقتي، بس هي في البدايه تشرح بعض النظريات شويه يعني. قاعد وانا بعلمه السلوك البديل لازم اعرفه بالظبط ايه اللي هيحصل عليه لما اعمل له السلوك البديل ده، وازاي انا بحترم السلوك البديل ده. يس دكتور.
These are just some important articles that I would recommend people read if they want to learn more about functional communication training. Hanley in 2008 and Carr and Durand in 1984. They're both a little bit, well, the Carr and Durand one is a lot older, but these two are focused specifically on functional communication training. And Ahmed, I can provide these articles if you would like to have those. I should have them both that I can share with you.
The Hanley?
Yeah, the Hanley has one on functional communication training and Carr and Durand do as well. So I can share those with you.
Of course. اوكي. بتتكلم عن ان انا هتكلم دلوقتي برضو عن اهميه المعززات في ان انا بعمل طريقه تواصل بديل للطفل. اوكي دكتور.
This is the basic process for functional communication training. The first step is to identify the function of the challenging behavior. As I mentioned before, in my original training in the field, I was trained to start here. So when I first started practicing, anytime I had a client engaging in challenging behavior, I would determine the function first and write programs to teach a functional replacement response. But over the past 20 years, as I mentioned, I've learned that's not always the starting point. Oftentimes, a lot of our clients don't have emotional regulation skills. They don't have connected relationships. And there's some other skill deficits that explain why they're engaging in challenging behavior. If that's the case, functional communication training will not be as effective. We need to first build those skills, and then we can focus on functional communication training. If those skills are already present, then we can start looking at, okay, the challenging behaviors still exist. What in the environment is maintaining that challenging behavior, and how can we come up with a new safe response for the client instead? So the first step, if you've already ruled out skill deficits, the first step is to identify the function.
Okay, continue the four. I will translate all together. Okay.
Perfect. The second step, once you've identified the function, is to choose a functional replacement. So if the client is engaging in challenging behavior to escape or avoid something, then your functional replacement would be teaching them a response that will help them escape or avoid. If they're engaging in challenging behavior to get attention, then you would teach them a replacement that helps them get attention. Those are the two most common ones, and then also there's others, like sensory or attention as well. The third then, and this is the part that a lot of people tend to skip over, the third one is to actually do the teaching. So we need to do training trials where we're teaching them that functional replacement, practicing it with them, and you'll see some videos of this in a little bit. And then lastly, we need to make sure they contact reinforcement for the replacement behavior. Usually that reinforcement is going to be connected to the function. So if they're trying to escape, they get to escape. If they're looking for attention, they get attention. But sometimes you might have additional reinforcement that you're providing as well, because you want to heavily motivate the safe behavior, and it needs to be able to compete with the unsafe behavior.
اوكي، هنقول نظرة عامة عن شكل او الشكل اللي بيتم بيه تدريب التواصل البديل. ازاي بدرب الطفل على التواصل البديل انا كأخصائي؟ فقال انا بمشي على 4 خطوات. اول خطوة لازم اعرف الفانكشن او الوظيفة بتاعة السلوك اللي بيحصل فيه المشكلة ده. يعني مثلا ابني بيرمي نفسه على الارض، عايز اعرف ايه سبب ده، ايه وظيفته، ليه بيعمل كده؟ هل عشان ياخد شوكولاته مثلا؟ هل عشان يجذب انتباهي؟ هل عشان يهرب من الواجب؟ هل لحاجه حسيه؟ الاربع وظائف. يعني انا اول حاجه لازم اعرف وافهم ايه هي الوظيفه بتاعت السلوك ده، لازم احددها بشكل دقيق. تاني حاجه انا بعمل سوري كمان، لما احددها بشكل دقيق بستبعد الحاجات الطبيه. يعني مثلا ممكن يكون طفل مثلا بيمشي هو لازق رجليه في بعض جنب بعض كده، ممكن تكون وظيفه السلوك دي لفت الانتباه، او ان هو يهرب من حاجه، او ان هو مثلا سنسوري، او ان هو مثلا ياخد حاجه. بس ممكن يكون كمان سبب طبي. فعشان احدد الوظيفه صح لازم استبعد الاسباب الطبيه، ثم ادرس الاربع حاجات دول، فاوصل ان الوظيفه بتاعت السلوك هي واحده من الاربعه اللي احنا قلناهم دول. تاني حاجه بختار سلوك بديل يكون نفس السلوك الوظيفه اللي حصلت. يعني ابني بيرمي نفسه على الارض عشان ياخد شوكولاته، يبقى الوظيفه هنا ان هو عايز ياخد حاجه، فانا بوفر له سلوك بديل يخدم نفس الوظيفه. بدل ما هو يعمل كده ممكن اقول له قول عايز شوكولاته، او شاور على صوره الشوكولاته. بعلمه سلوك بديل صح يخدم نفس الوظيفه. ثالث حاجه ببدا ان انا اعلمه وادربه. بعد ما لقيت السلوك البديل ببدا انا ادربه على السلوك البديل، احنا هنقول بالتفصيل ازاي بتدربه عليه. ورابع حاجه انا بخلي التعزيز نفسه هو الحاجه اللي عايزها. يعني هو بيعيط في الاول عشان ياخد شوكولاته، واخترت السلوك البديل ان هو هيشاور على الشوكولاته، فهو ودربته على انه يشاور على الشوكولاته فشاور على الشوكولاته. يبقى التعزيز هنا ان انا هديله الشوكولاته. وقالت كمان انا ساعات بضيف معزات تانية عشان السلوك يفضل مستمر، اللي هو السلوك البديل. يعني انا اديت له الشوكولاته كمعزز، ممكن اديله كمان حاجات تانية كمعزز في البدايه عشان اثبت السلوك الصح عنده. يس دكتور.
As I mentioned, the training trials are the most important part with functional communication training. And often when I see this implemented, people don't do the training trials. They say what the replacement behavior is going to be, and they say that's what they'll reinforce, but they never teach and practice the replacement behavior. So when we're doing the training trials, we want to first prime the replacement response. This means we're reminding the person what it is they need to do. So for example, if they're wanting to get out of something or away from something, and our replacement response might just be to put their hand up, like make like a stop gesture. Maybe they don't talk yet, so we're just doing this gesture. So we practice that with them. We say, when we don't want something, we can go like this, and we put our hand up and we show them and we practice, and we, might even have them watch me, like someone trying to give me something and I go like this and then they take the item away. So it's really clear, this is what we can do to be safe and get something to go away.
Okay,
The next
continue.
part, the next part is, I'm going to just put these up here, to
Okay.
what's called bait the environment. This means you're practicing right away whatever the replacement response is. So if we're working on teaching this gesture, and I know that they don't like, I don't know, I have a pen here. Let's pretend we know that they don't like a pen, okay? And it's not something that causes them a lot of distress. They just, in general, don't really care for pens. Then I would show them, I would say, remember, if you don't want something, go like this. And then I would immediately try to give them the pen and then show them, like, go like this, and have them practice putting their hand up as soon as they see the thing they don't like. And I would immediately take it away so that they can get that practice right away, experience contact reinforcement. And we're doing all of this during a natural, neutral time where they're regulated, they're happy, there's nothing stressful going on. We're just explicitly teaching them, the same as we would with matching or receptive ID, what this gesture means. This, when you do this, things go away. So those are the 4 steps we are going to prime and show them what the response is and how it works. We're going to bait the environment by presenting some practice trials, immediately coach them, prompt them on how to do the replacement response, and immediately reinforce that replacement response by giving them whatever it is that they're asking for with the response that we're teaching them.
اوكي، هي بتقول عشان ابدا بقى التدريب، احنا اتفقنا فوق احنا هنعمل يعني عشان بعمل الخطه ازاي، بعملها في 1 2 3. ده كان الكلام النظري، ان انا بعرف وظيفه السلوك، وبعد كده بحط سلوك بديل، وبعدين بقول ان انا هعلمه ازاي السلوك البديل ده، وبعد كده يعني بوفر المعزات او بشتغل بيه. طيب ازاي انا بدرب الطفل بقى على الحاجات دي؟ قال لك رقم 1، انت بتحط للطفل يعني بدائل تكون واقعيه. يعني بحفز الطفل على السلوك البديل يكون prime to the learner with the replacement response. يعني بحاول ان انا اوجد سلوكيات بديله تكون قريبه من البيئه الطبيعيه. هشرح لكم دلوقتي يعني ايه. رقم 2، انا باخد الحاجه من البيئه الطبيعيه واعلمها له بشكل دايركت او بيت انفايرمنت. بحاول ان انا استخدم الحاجات اللي موجوده في البيئه عشان ادربه عليها. ثالث حاجه، انا بحفز او بدعم او بعزز الاستجابه البديله اول ما يعملها. سوري، برومبت ريسبونس. اوكي، بساعده ان هو يعمل الريسبونس دي او يعني الاستجابه البديله، ثم بعززها واحده واحده. يعني ايه؟ اول حاجه، الطفل بيعمل عندي سلوك مشكل، فانا او سلوك فيه مشكله يعني. فانا بعد ما عرفت الوظيفه وخلاص حددت الريبليسمنت، يعني البديل للوظيفه دي او البديل للحاجه الوحشه اللي هو بيعملها دي، هي كذا. مثلا بدل ما هو يصرخ عشان ياخد شيبسي، انا هعلمه يقول شيبسي. او بدل ما هو مثلا يعني زهق من الواجب ومش عايز يكمل الواجب، فانا عرفت ان السلوك اللي انا هبدله بيه ان هو يطلب مثلا وقت، يقول انا محتاج اخد راحه، يعمل كده. فانا دربته، انت بتعوز راحه هتعمل كده. رقم 2، بحاول ان انا اقلد الموضوع ده قدامه. يعني مثلا انا احس ان انا مثلا قدامه كده واقول له انا محتاج راحه، واعمل نفس الاشاره اللي انا علمتها ليه. ثم بعد كده في الخطوه الثالثه اساعده ان هو يعمل كده. لما احس ان هو بدا يمل او هيظهر الحاجه بتاعه الوظيفه او المشكله دي، ابدا ان انا امسك ايده وادربه على نفس الاشاره اللي انا علمتها له، عشان برومبت يعني تلقين او مساعده. وبعدين لما يعملها فورا حتى لو بمساعدتي، اعزز اللي هو عمله ده عشان افهمه ان انت بتاخد الراحه مش بالزعيق، بتاخده بالعلامه اللي احنا اتفقنا عليها دي، وانا عززتك كمان على العلامه دي. اوكي دكتور.
And then the very last part of this is you're going to do several trials in a row. So you do it, you want the client to stay regulated, When you're teaching a functional communication response, sometimes it can be a stressful experience. So if you do a couple of practice trials and they start to show that they're getting dysregulated, maybe they're moving away from you, they're, starting to tense up a little bit, or they're showing any other signs that this is not an enjoyable experience, then you stop. But the goal is to try to practice 5 to 10 times in a row how to use this response to get safely what it is that they're trying to get.
اوكي، الخطوه الخامسه والمهمه ان انا ببدا ادرب الطفل على المهاره دي من 5 ل 10 مرات عشان هو بعد كده يعممها في البيئه الطبيعيه، وهنشرح ازاي بيعممها، بس انا بدرب على المهاره دي من 5 ل 10 مرات. يس دكتور.
Okay. So the other part that I wanted to talk about with functional communication training is using the natural environment, because often people will practice in highly structured situations, but then they're not actually engaging in the replacement response when it matters. So we work on teaching this new safe replacement response, and then we need to carry it over to the natural environment as quickly as possible. I'm just going to pull these up so we have them.
Okay.
This means we want to train everyone who's working with the child how to prompt the replacement behavior. As soon as we started teaching, for example, putting the hand up to make something go away, we would teach the parents, teachers, anyone else that, hey, he's working on putting his hand up to show that he doesn't want something. And right now we need to really make sure we reinforce that. If he puts his hand up, he doesn't have to do the thing or whatever you've just presented, it disappears for a little while. If people are not consistently reinforcing this new replacement response, then we'll see the challenging behavior persist. So it's really important that everyone learns how to reinforce the new replacement response, and they learn how to remind the child to engage in that response as well. I have on here that most people need frequent reminders initially. We need to think about whatever the unsafe, challenging behavior is that's occurring. Usually there's a really long learning history. So even though the child might be throwing things across the room and screaming and making, really intense response that seems very effortful, for them, it's not. It's their habit. It's what they do to communicate in that moment. So the reminders help them keep it in their, like a prompt to do the safe thing. So if we're reminding even during neutral time, hey, remember when you don't want something, go like this. 5 minutes later, hey, remember when you don't want something, go like this. And we're just giving that reminder throughout the day. That way, when an opportunity arises, it's fresh. It's right there from hopefully be able to break that chain, that habit. And as soon as the trigger happens, something comes in that they don't want, this should happen. They should put their hand up instead of immediately engaging in challenging behavior. What I usually do is take baseline data, because I have some clients who might tantrum 5 times in 1 hour, and I have some clients who might only tantrum once a day. So if you have a client who's engaging in challenging behavior very frequently, your reminders will be every 5 or 10 minutes. But if you have clients who engage in challenging behavior not that often, you might be able to do a reminder at the beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, and maybe toward the end of the day. It just depends on how easily they're encountering situations where they might need to use the replacement behavior. And then, of course, like I already mentioned, we need to make sure that they get access to the reinforcer on the same schedule as their training session. So if you're reinforcing every time they put their hand up in the training sessions, in the natural environment, that needs to happen too. And then we can work on making that, more realistic and changing that reinforcement schedule as they learn that new skill.
اوكي، هو بتقول ازاي بنقل التدريب ده او يعني للبيئه الطبيعيه بعد ما دربته خلاص في اللي هو يعني في الغرفه عندي، انا ازاي انقل ده في البيئه الطبيعيه؟ اول حاجه هي بتقول نصيحه، المفروض ان احنا ننقل التدريب ده في اسرع وقت بعد تدريبه في البيئه الصفيه للبيئه الطبيعيه. يعني احنا دربناه في البيئه الصفيه خلاص واتقنها في البيئه الصفيه من 5 ل10 مرات، على طول ما استناش بقى فتره لحد ما الموضوع يتنسى، لا على طول انقله للبيئه اللي هي الطبيعيه في حياته يعني. ولان هي كمان يعني البيئه الطبيعيه بتكون معززه للطفل اكتر. ده رقم واحد. رقم اتنين، المفروض ان انا بعلم كل المحيطين ازاي يتصرفوا في كل المواقف اللي بتحصل. يعني مثلا بقول لبابا وماما والعاملين مع الطفل واخواته، المفروض لما يعمل مثلا السلوك اللي مثلا احنا كنا بنقول ان هو عشان عايز يهرب من الواجب فبيصرخ، وانا علمته ان هو يعمل كده مثلا يعني. فانا اقول لبابا وماما واخواته ازاي يتصرفوا لما يعمل هو السلوك ده عشان يهرب، احنا هنعمل ده بالظبط، بحيث كل اللي في البيئة المحيطة ينفذوا نفس الكلام. رقم ثلاثة، أنا بعمل تذكير متكرر في البداية. يعني إيه تذكير متكرر؟ ربما الطفل ينسى بعد ما يخرج من الصف وهو متعود يعمله في الصف، طلع بره في البيئة الطبيعية، فبينسى اللي حصل. فأنا في البداية بذكره، خلي بالك يا محمد ما ينفعش إنك تزعق عشان تطلب مثلا عشان تهرب من الواجب. خلي بالك يا محمد انت المفروض تعمل كذا لما تكون عايز راحه. يعني تديله، بتفكره بالحاجه دايما اللي حصلت معاه في الصف. رقم 4، ودي مهمه جدا، انك بتعززه بنفس طريقه التعزيز اللي كنت بتعززه بيها داخل الصف. يعني انت كنت بتعززه بعد محاولتين صحيحتين، فانت كمان في البره بتحاول انك تعززه بعد محاولتين صحيحتين. اول ما يعمل ده مرتين في البيئه الطبيعيه مع بابا وماما واخواته والناس كلها، ببدا ان انا اديله نفس التعزيز بعد نفس عدد المحاولات اللي كان بيعملها معايا في الجلسه. الخطوه المهمه الاخيره ان هو ربما المعالج يكون واجب عليه ان هو يتدخل في البيئه الطبيعيه كمان مع ولي الامر في البدايه. يعني ممكن يكون معاه في البيت او مثلا في النادي او في اماكن عامه، يعني بحيث ينقل التجربه اللي حصلت في الصف الى البيئه الطبيعيه. يس دكتور.
And then these are just a few additional guidelines when you're using functional communication training in the natural environment. During high probability situations, you want to provide reminders of the replacement behavior. So, for example, if we're working on putting the hand up to make something go away, and there's certain stimuli that the child doesn't like, there's certain toys they don't like, or there's certain materials they don't like. If they are about to go into an environment with those stimuli, you would remind them before they even go in there, hey, remember, if you don't like something, go like this. And you would be prepared to coach them before the situation actually happens. And as soon as the situation is occurring or the child's engaging in precursor behaviors, so maybe they start moving around a little bit or they start moving away and they start turning away from something, you could remind them right then, hey, if you don't like that, go like this. And you would remind them to put their hand up. Once the child is already upset, it's usually too late. Most people are not going to respond to a prompt or any type of coaching if they're already dysregulated and engaging in unsafe behavior. So at that point, you need to just let them, keep them safe, let whatever happens there happen. I mean, protect obviously the environment and all of that, but you're not trying to have them engage in the replacement behavior while they're escalated. But once they calm down, you can try again. So once they're calm and they're more regulated, you can tell them, okay, it seems like you didn't like that toy. You can go like this. And you show them how to put their hand up, and then the toy gets put away. In some situations, you might need to make the replacement easier. So even with this hand up situation, like that being the replacement, you might even just tell them, like, it looks like you don't like that toy, and then remove it. You might not even require a response out of them besides them just sitting there calmly for a few seconds, but helping them learn this thing goes away when I'm not escalated. The biggest key here, though, is we are the guides in this situation, and we need to make sure we're supporting our clients. So I have a little bit that I want to say on that, but Ahmed, I'd rather you translate first what I just said, and then I'll tell you about this part. It's
اوكي
not on the
انا
slide.
اتس اوكي انا هبدا من اخر نقطه هي قالت ان المفتاح الكبير جدا في الموضوع ده انك لازم تعرف ان انت القائد في الموضوع، وانك تتاكد انك هتفيد الطفل اللي قدامك. طيب، قالت في بعض التوجيهات للناس اللي بيدربوا بيقعوا فيها، فاحنا محتاجين ان احنا ناخد بالنا منها. اول حاجه، في المواقف المحتمله اللي يحصل فيها السلوك الغير مرغوب ده، فورا ذكروا يعني بالسلوك البديل. يعني انت خلاص داخل على الفصل مثلا، انت والطفل ده، وانت عارف ان هو لما يدخل الفصل انت اول ما يشوف الكتاب هيبدأ يعمل سلوكيات لانه مش بيحب يشوف الكتاب. في الوقت ده قبل ما يدخل ده موقف انت محتمل ان هو يحصل فيه السلوك ده، او بيئة او وقت معين محتمل يحصل فيه السلوك ده، فورا نبهه. خلي بالك يا محمد، احنا لما نعوز ناخد بريك بنعمل كذا. طيب، تاني موقف اللي هو إذا هو بقى حسيت إن هو فعلا بدأ يدخل في السلوك، نبهه وذكره كمان مرة. لو كان السلوك في بدايته بدأ يعمل السلوك الغير مرغوب، ذكره إن إحنا بنعمل سلوك بديل كذا. طيب، تالت حاجة، نفترض هو انخرط في السلوك الوحش وبدأ يعمل السلوك اللي إحنا مش عايزينه، عشان يعني بدل ما يطلب راحة لا بيعيط زي الأول. فبعمل إيه؟ قالت إحنا بنتوقف تماما ومش بنديله اي لا تعليمات ولا بنديله سلوك بديل ولا تعزيز، بنستناه خالص لحد ما يهدى، وبعدها ابدا اتدخل معاه. ثم قالت الكلمه اللي احنا قلناها في الاول: تذكر ان انت القائد وان انت اللي بتقود الموضوع ده. يعني خليك حازم، ولكن يعني باسلوب هادي. يس دكتور.
Okay. So before we go on, I just want to give this one little, I guess, update, if you will. So when I first learned about functional communication training, in the longer versions of the slides, I have a section on this, but I do want to just make sure it's clear. When I first learned about functional communication training 20 years ago, we were taught we could not change the environment unless the safe, replacement behavior occurred. Research has shown that's not true. We can. So
Could
if for
you, Doctor,
yeah,
could you repeat again? Before 20 years, when you are trying to learn function communication training, what
we were
happened?
taught basically that you have to use extinction, but the
You
research is clear now you don't. You don't have to use extinction with functional communication training.
okay.
So if the client, if there's a toy that they don't like and they don't do the hand movement and the toy is sitting there and they just escalate and get really upset, my original training would have been you have to leave the toy there until they do the replacement. But the research now shows that's not true. So what I want to encourage everyone is always use your best judgment and make sure that you are supporting the client. So if you didn't properly coach and support them at the beginning, or even if you did, if the toy is sitting there and it's upsetting them, move the toy. Even if they didn't make the replacement, we need to then reflect on why did they not do it? What do I need to do differently next time? We don't just leave the toy there and further upset that person. We can move it and we can do another experience with that resetting later once they're calm. But it's not okay at this point with the research that we have to just leave the toy there and say they have to learn how to navigate this. It's both in our research and in the behavioral neuroscience research. It's so clear now that people, our nervous systems, we get dysregulated and we don't perform as well when we're upset. So we can't, sometimes we're expecting our clients to do things that most humans would not be able to do because their nervous system is too activated. And we're trying to get them to perform a skill or learn when it's not a time where that could be happening. So it's on us to allow for that reset and try again later.
اوكي، هي قالت حاجه مهمه جدا، ان هي لما اتعلمت من 20 سنه الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج، كانوا قايلين ان هو لازم نستخدم الاول اكستنشن، نعمل اطفاء للسلوك الوحش، وبعد كده نعلمه سلوك بديل. يعني هو بيعيط عشان يهرب من الواجب، فالمفروض ان انا مش بشتغل فانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج وابدا ان انا ادربه ان هو الاول يعمل اطفاء للسلوك ويختفي السلوك المشكل ده من عنده، وبعد كده اعلمه وظيفه للسلوك الجديد. فبس قالت ان الابحاث في الفتره دي اثبتت العكس، ان احنا نقدر نشتغل بالفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج او ندربه على سلوك وظيفي او تواصلي بديل من غير ما اعمل اطفاء للسلوك الاولاني. على طول بدخل على الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج. وقالت ان في تحديات اكتر بقى. نفترض انا وانا بدرب الطفل مره واثنين وثلاثه مفيش استجابه، ودايما بينخرط في السلوك او بيعمل السلوك اللي هو الوحش او المشكل في الموضوع ده، اعمل ايه؟ قالت اول حاجه بتنظم البيئه. بتنظم البيئه. يعني ايه بتنظم البيئه؟ يعني انت عارف ان هو لو دخل في الغرفه دي ولقى الالعاب وهو بيذاكر فورا هيعمل سلوك عايز يهرب من المذاكره عشان يروح يلعب بالالعاب دي. فتعمل ايه؟ شيل الالعاب خالص قبل ما يدخل هو الغرفه. رقم اتنين، حاول انك تجيب له عشان السلوك سوري يحصل تلقائيا. رقم اتنين، تجيب له نماذج وفيديوهات وصور واشخاص طبيعيين، الثلاثه دول يعملوا قدامه نفس الوظيفه اللي انت عايز تعلمها له عشان هو يبدا يلقط منهم. تالت حاجه ودي المهمه، انك تعيد ترتيب البيئه. يعني مثلا يعني انت هتعمل كفر بدل تاني مره، يعني بدل ما تشيل العاب خالص ممكن تغطيها لحد ما يخلص مذاكره تبدا تظهر له الالعاب. رابع حاجه، ان انت ابدا ما تعززوش اذا دخل في اي سلوك غلط، وانتظر لحد ما يهدى وابدا علمه السلوك البديل وخليك ثابت على موقفك. قالت هي ايه؟ قالت انت دايما القائد، ولازم تتاكد انك بتدعم الاطفال عن طريق الجزئيه دي، انك ما تستجبش ابدا للحاجات اللي هو بيعملها يعني. يس دكتور.
We're going to talk about behavioral skills training next, and then I have some videos. Before I do the demand fading, I'll pause for questions, but I want to get through this section and the videos before we do any, because some of the questions might be answered as we go through this section.
Okay, you need question from them, yes or what?
Yes, if anyone has questions, I
اه لو
want to
حد
show
عنده.
them like this and some videos before we pause for questions.
اوكي، لو حد عنده اي سؤال عن الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج يقدر يسالها قبل ما ندخل في الحاجه التانيه يعني.
So behavioral skills training is a process that was initially researched by Dr. Milton Berger, and it's been successfully used with a wide array of different skills. They've done it for preventing child abductions, teaching gun safety, which is a big issue here in the United States. And it's also been used for parent training and staff training, as well as, of course, with our clients too.
طيب بتقول احنا هندربه حاليا عن حاجه اسمها التدريب على المهارات السلوكيه. التدريب على المهارات السلوكيه ده مختص ببعض الحاجات، زي ان انا بدربه على ان هو يعني يستخدم الاسلحه ازاي زي السكينه وغيره بشكل امن، او ان انا بدربه على بدرب كمان الستاف تريننج ده من ضمن البي اس تي. وكمان انا بدربه على ازاي ان هو يعني لما في ناس بتتخطف او اطفال بتتخطف بدربه ازاي يقاوم ده، او ان هو يعني ما يروحش للجزئيه دي عشان ما يحصلش ان هو يتخطف وهكذا. فهنتكلم حاليا عن ازاي نعمل له ده. يس دكتور.
These are the components of behavioral skills training. So this is written in relation to working with a supervisee, but this is for anyone. So if you're working with a client, a parent, a supervisee, behavioral skills training would follow these steps. The first is you want to provide a rationale for why you're working on the skill that you're working on. The second is to provide a succinct written description of the target skill. And you can also provide a vocal description of the target skill. The written description just helps make sure there's clear understanding of what you're doing. Then you need to demonstrate each of the target skills. Then practice each target skill, whether again, it's with a parent, a supervisee, or a client. And then lastly, provide positive and corrective feedback. So all of these components are necessary in order to say that you're using behavioral skills training.
اوكي، هي تاني عشان في ناس سألت في التعليقات. البي اس دي بيعتمد في تدريسه على بعض الحاجات، منها ان انا بعلمه ازاي يتعرف على المخاطر، زي الخطاف مثلا، ان حد ممكن يخطفني، ان حد ممكن يضربني، ان حد ممكن بره مثلا ياخد حاجتي وهكذا. بدربه على المخاطر. رقم اتنين، بعلمه ازاي يستخدم يعني السكينه وادوات الطعام بشكل يعني مناسب من غير ما يعور نفسه، او الالات الحاده بشكل عام يعني، زي المقص او زي السكينه او المشرط او القطر لو بيجي بيعمل حاجه يعني، بس دي في مراحل عاليه. وبيدرب الآباء وبيدرب الموظفين. قالت إن مكونات البي تي سي أو الخطة السلوكية رقم واحد، لازم أعرف أو أعرف السبب وراء تدريب المهارة دي. يعني أنا لما أجي مثلا هدرب الطفل على اللي هو مثلا يواجه المخاطر، فانا بشرح له انا ليه بدربه على الجزئيه دي. طبعا ده بيستخدم مع الناس اللي هي قدراتها عاليه شويه. لو انتوا لاحظتوا الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج بيستخدم ممكن مع الاطفال اللي هي لسه في بدايتها، يعني لسه بتتعلم طريقه للتواصل. لكن البي اس تي شويه مع الناس الكبيره. رقم اتنين، بقدم وصف مكتوب للحاجه اللي انا هعملها معاه. احنا هنعمل واحد اتنين تلاته، وبعد ما بعمل وصف مكتوب بعمل وصف مسموع، يعني بشرح له بقى لفظا، لان ده بيكون اكثر تعمقا. بقى بقول احنا هنعمل واحد كذا 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 وهنسوي كذا كذا كذا، وادي له امثله بشكل مسموع. بعد كده امارس كل مهاره انا قلت له هعملها. يعني احنا كتبنا مهارات هنتعلمها انا والكلاينت او الشخص الكبير ده، كتبناها في ورقه وسمعتها له وبينت له الهدف من تعليمها. الخطوه اللي بعدها المفروض بمارس معاه المهاره مهاره مهاره، وبعمل تغذيه راجعه. بقول له انت غلطت في كذا، المفروض المره الجايه تعمل كذا، المفروض انت عملت كذا، المفروض المره اللي بعدها تعمل كذا. ثم بعد كده بعمم السلوك. يس دكتور.
Then lastly, you'll just repeat this whole process until you've reached your target for that skill. So depending on the client, hold on, I just want to make sure. Okay, you're still here. Okay, your video went away, so I wasn't sure if you were still here.
Okay.
Depending on the skill and the client, it might be that they have to perform the skill 100% correctly. It might be 80%. It just depends on what the skill is that you're working on, but you'll repeat all of these steps until they master the skill that you're teaching them.
I have to translate now, or you can continue. I will translate all together.
If you want to just translate that part, I didn't realize that bullet point wasn't, I hadn't said that one about just repeating to mastery.
Sorry, repeat again. I couldn't hear you.
Repeat these steps until they master the skill.
اوكي، هي قالت نفس الخطوات تاني، وبعدين قالت في الاخر انا بحط حاجه عن يعني ماستر كريتيريا او انا امتى هقول ان هو اتقن المهاره دي، لو عمل ايه، لو سوى ايه، لو اتقنها بنسبه كام في الميه. يس دكتور.
Okay. So this is a case example. I'm going to show you some videos. The client here was about 3 years old when we were working on these different things, but his age, he was like 2 or 3, depending on which video you see, but closer to 3. So he was engaging in challenging behavior in a variety of contexts, and he needed to learn a lot of different skills. I worked with him before I knew how important it was to work on, especially emotional regulation. So when I worked with him, we were working on emotional regulation, but we also worked on functional communication training at the same time. So I would have done a few things different with him, but it's still a really good example of how we can use behavioral skills training and functional communication training with our clients. So I'm going to just show you these different videos so you can see it in practice.
Before the video, doctor, I feel they are the same.
The behavioral skills
communication training, and
well, so with the behavioral skills training, this is how you can explicitly teach something. So if you have a replacement behavior that you're teaching, you can teach it using behavioral skills training. And that's what you'll see in the video. I'll explain it a bit more as we watch the videos.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure we had time to see the videos because they help show how it all works.
Inshallah, we have.
So this video is just showing the challenging behavior. You'll see here, it looks pretty typical for a toddler, but he would do this for hours a day. It wasn't like 10 or 15 minutes. It was a pretty long range of time where he would engage in these tantrums and he would become rather unsafe.
Okay. شوفوا الفيديو يا شباب كده، هيشرح فيه سلوك، يعني في مشكلة هتحصل في الفيديو حاليا، فبعدها هنشرح ايه اللي حصل. اوكي دكتور.
What? Strawberries? Grapes. Okay. Let's see what the box says. The box says yes. You can have a grape. Just one.
What he said لا.
Just, here you go.
Sorry, because I
Bob said yes.
Yeah, she's just asking him which food he wants, and then she's telling him yes or no. So you can see when he gets told no, you'll see the challenging behavior
but
happen.
I think I heard him. He said لا in Arabic.
He's asking for grapes first, and then the mom says he can have one grape.
He is Arab or he what is his nationality?
No, he's speaking English.
Yeah.
But he's
Okay,
he's like 2 or 3 here, so it probably doesn't sound super clear.
Okay. Okay.
You want a strawberries? Red. Red means no strawberry. Red means no.
So she's trying to help him learn to accept no here, and then you're gonna see when she doesn't give him the strawberry, him start engaging in the challenging behavior.
Strawberry. No, you got red. But you can have grapes or cheese. These are yeses. No, see, it was no. The box said no. I got a red one when I picked. No, that's a no.
Oh.
Now you can take that off. Great.
Oh la la. Oh la la.
So yeah, so you can see here, this is him just being told no, and she's trying to use like a more formal procedure to help him. Like when you get a green, you can have it, and when you get a red, you can't. As I said, this was before we started any sort of behavioral skills training or functional communication training. She just sent me this video to see like, this is what's happening. So it was only a few seconds, and you could see how quickly he was escalating, but once he would escalate, it would last for hours. He would go in his room and tantrum for 2 or 3 hours once he was really worked up, which is the part that was even more concerning. Yep. So he's starting to, throw his head back, which is concerning, and just all these different things. So we wanted to help him learn how to be okay with hearing no.
Okay. Before I translate, I need to be concerned about something. That's me in functional communication training. I make replacement for behavior. It's not
right. So right now he hasn't. This is just a baseline video. There's no procedures being used here.
Yeah, I know.
It's just to show
about the BST means I try to teach him a new behavior.
Yeah, for BST, you're going to use that to help teach the replacement behavior. And you'll see it when we watch the videos.
اوكي هي في السلوك اللي حصل ده ان هي بتحاول تعلم الطفل ان هو يستجيب لكلمة لا. فلما كان هو بيقول ستروبري هو عايز ياكل فراولة، فهم بتقول له لا انت المفروض تختار بين العنب وما شفتش الحاجة التانية ايه وما سمعتهاش. فهو يقول لها لا انا عايز فراولة كذا مرة، والاخر كسر الكرسي وتقول انه قعد 3 ساعات يعمل نفس السلوك المشكل ده، والاخر بدأ ان هو يستجيب. الفرق بين الفانكشنال كوميونيكيشن تريننج ان انا بعلمه سلوك بديل، والبي اس تي معناها الطريقه اللي انا بعلم بيها الفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج. اوكي دكتور.
So right now, mom is going to work on practicing with him that functional communicative response. So what we're working on, because he's having difficulty with no, she's going to teach him to say okay. When she tells him, no, you can't have this, she's teaching him how to say okay.
Okay. Let's see that.
Okay. What do you want to play with? There's monster trucks, dinosaurs, tablet, or book.
No. Monster truck.
What do you want to play with? Tell me what.
Monster truck.
Oh, no. But you can pick something else. So say okay and pick something else. No. So pick something else calmly so you can get a candy. How How about a Dilophosaurus? What is this one? Dilophosaurus?
No.
Dilophosaurus is gonna bite you.
No.
Jump. Not Dilophosaurus. What about, here comes the Spinosaurus. Roar. You got your finger. You got your finger. Show me calm. Stay calm and say, okay. Just like our book. It says we can stay calm and say, okay. Mom said no, so you need to calmly pick something out.
عنيد جدا. I want what? We said what? I want what?
Dinosaurs,
He wants
tablets,
monster
or book?
trucks. It's one of the
Okay.
toys on the
Ah,
bed.
okay, okay.
Calm. Look, who's this? Roar. Good. Say okay. Say okay.
Okay.
Good.
Wow.
You played with the dinosaur. Now you can have a monster truck.
Oh,
Whoa, which monster truck are you going to pick?
this one.
So I'll give a little debrief and then you can translate. So
Okay.
basically, you saw when he was told no for the food, how he escalated pretty quickly. So she had already read, there's like a behavioral skills training social story here, and you'll see it on the next video. She had read that with him, and she's working on the replacement of okay. So she's comforting him and trying to coach him through saying okay to being told no. And once he says okay, then and he's played for a few seconds with something else, then she can open up the thing he actually wanted and let him play with that. So it's a very quick transition, and we work on expanding from that. So eventually you'll see it in a future video, I think. I can't remember. But eventually we work on being told no, and he just doesn't get the item at all. But in this first set, we're just, as soon as he says okay, to help him learn to stay calm when he hears no, then he can have the item he originally wanted. But we eventually get to the point where he doesn't get the item he wanted at all, because he has a brother, he goes to school, he's with other kids, he's obviously not always going to get what he wants, and he needs to learn to stay calmer when he's told that he can't have something.
اوكي we'll translate. يعني شفته في الفيديو كده، هو حتى في الفيديو بتاع الخضروات كان رافض ان هو يقول انه استمروا معاه لحد ما قالها. في البيت لما مامته، طبعا احنا اتفقنا فوق ان هم بيعلموا كل الناس اللي بيتعاملوا مع الطفل ازاي يدربوا الطفل. فلما مامته حاولت معاه ان هو يقول انه مش قادره تجيب معاه نتيجه، فهي عملت حتى ريبليسمنت للكلمه، يعني عملت تغيير للكلمه بس يخدم نفس الوظيفه. يعني هو مثلا دلوقتي بدل ما يقول نوع الحاجه، عايز تعلمه ان هو يقول اوكي ان هو يلعب باللعبه دي، بدل لا مش هلعب بدي، علمته ان هو يقول اوكي على حاجه معينه. وفضلت تحاول معاه لحد ما وصلت ان هو في الاخر استجاب ليها وقال اوكي ولعب باللعبه اللي اديتها له لشويه ثواني، ثم دايركت نقلته على الحاجه الثانيه. لان هو مثلا بيحب حاجه يلعب بيها، وانا المفروض ان انا بعلمه سلوك تاني، فهبدا مستمر لحد ما يستجيب ليا ويعمل السلوك التاني ده ولو لثواني بسيطه. لو لاحظتوا يمكن لعب بالحاجات لمده ثانيه او 2 او 3 اللي هي اختارتها ليه، بقيت له طب يلا انت حاليا تقدر تعمل الحاجه التانيه اللي انت عايزها. فببدا من الحاجه اللي انا عايزها ثم انتقل للحاجه اللي هو عايزها. يس دكتور.
All right, so here you can see the actual behavioral skills training practice with him. There is one step. She doesn't really go through much of a rationale with him, which is the first step. When you're working with adults, it's a lot easier. With little ones, especially toddlers, the rationale is a little bit trickier because they don't, they don't really understand it anyway.
Yeah.
When mom says no, what do you say? You can say, okay.
I did the monster truck out.
Yeah, okay, wait.
Wait.
So when mom says not now, later, you say, okay,
Okay.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
Oh.
Good boy.
So right now, she's just trying to practice with him, right? That's the step. The behavioral skills training is to tell them what the thing is. So she's saying when mom says no, you say okay. And she's just trying to role play and practice that with him, and he won't even say it. She's not even
واو
telling him no. She's just trying to practice him saying okay. And even that is a little bit tricky. I don't know if you want
واو
to translate that real quick.
واو بتقول اخر مرحله في التدريب ده قبل التعميم ان انا بعمل حاجه اسمها رول بلاي، يعني بخليه هو يلعب الادوار. لما ماما تقول لا انت بتقول ايه اوكي ثم تعكس الموضوع. ما شاء الله، احنا شفنا في بدايه الفيديو لما كان هو رافض تماما ان هو يستجيب، ثم بالتدريب بالفانكشن كوميونيكيشن تريننج والبي اس تي بدا ان هو يستجيب لحد ما وصل للمرحله الاخيره اللي في اخر الفيديو دي، رغم ان هو في اول مره في الفيديو يقول ان هو قعد 3 ساعات يعمل تانترمز او نوبات غضب. يس دكتور.
Oh, I need a mother tractor.
Okay, not now, later. Say, okay, I'll wait.
No. 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 The tractor.
Yeah, not now, later. Say, okay.
No, later.
Say, okay.
No, no, okay. No, no, later. No, later. No, later. No, later.
I said later.
What's the meaning of later?
Okay.
Okay.
Good!
So he's just saying, he's like trying to tell her he wants it now. He wants to listen to the song now. He
not
doesn't want
later.
her to tell him no. And
Okay.
she's essentially using extinction, which, like I told you, these
Ah.
videos are like 10 years old at this point. So he's saying later, no later. I don't want it later. I want it now is what he's trying to communicate with her.
No, not after. Okay.
But he does eventually say, okay. I don't know if you heard that at the last second there. Once he pauses his little like bit that he's doing, she tells him again, say, okay. And he says, okay.
Okay.
Good job saying okay. Let's keep waiting. Nice waiting. Let's listen to the monster truck song now. That'll be fun. Say, all right.
All right.
Yahoo.
Wow.
Yahoo.
It's time to do it my way.
My way.
Yeah, that's so fun.
So now they're going to get to work to listen to the monster truck song. In that video, she was working on essentially 2 skills with him because she was trying to get him to wait and tolerate her reminding him like he can't have it. And the replacement she's trying to teach is okay. And they've done with the behavioral skills training, they have a little book that she reads to him that you're not seeing in the video, but she goes through all the steps with him and says like, when mommy says no, or when mommy says wait, I can say, okay. So he has like a visual of the behavioral skills training and she's trying to practice that with him. But you can see even when he's calm and they're not in the natural environment being told no, he's not yet saying okay. So he needs a lot of practice to learn how to say okay to either being told to wait or being told no.
محتاج يتدرب اكتر كمان على المهاره دي، يعني حتى بقول لك يعني زي ما هي كانت قالت من 5 ل 10 مرات ابدا ادربه على نفس الهدف عشان يتقنه. يس دكتور.
All right. So I don't know if you want to say anything else about that video before I show you all this one. Was there anything else to say about the one we just watched?
We need to watch. It's okay.
Okay. So one of the things, like I mentioned, that he really needed to work on was emotional regulation. And there were just some skills that he needed to learn. Obviously, he's little. And one thing we noticed is he really enjoyed sort of this kind of argumentative drama with mom. And we weren't going to be, this isn't part of BST or FCT, but it's something you need to be aware of. If there are needs that the child is having, well, this actually, okay, let me rephrase that. This isn't part of the original plan where we were working on no and wait. This is another place where we're working on some functional communication with him, but it's around getting his sensory automatic reinforcement needs met. So we found that he really loved this like drama, kind of like physical input from the environment and from mom. So we worked on teaching him a few different ways to get that. And so right now she's playing this game called Don't You Dare. And she's working on just telling him what the game is and showing it to him And then she'll remind him throughout the day to ask for this game. So the functional communication piece here is teaching him different commands that he can ask for. Don't you dare. And there was like a crashing game they did as well. There were different sensory things that we were teaching him how to ask for, because part of his challenging behavior was automatically reinforced. He would purposely throw himself on the ground and seek certain input, not because he wanted anything from mom, but because that physically
You
felt
need that.
good.
امم بتقول ان هو يعني في الفيديو ده هيكون بيعمل وظيفة هدفها حسي، يعني مش هدفها ان هو ياخد حاجة ولا يهرب من حاجة ولا شيء. هو هدفها فقط ان هو ياخد الدعم من مامته او الاحضان او اللعب زي البيكابو والكلام ده، فهي تعلمه ازاي الطريقة ان هو يطلب ده من غير ما يعمل السلوكيات الغلط. يس دكتور.
You're gonna say hi? That's you.
Lincoln.
Lincoln, let's play Lincoln's game. It's time to play Lincoln's game.
I see mommy.
Yeah. Hey, listen. Don't you dare touch my nose. Don't you do it. Don't you do it. I told you not to do it.
I see it.
Don't you dare touch it. Don't. You're gonna hurt me. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. I told you not to touch it.
I see it.
Don't you dare touch it. Don't you dare touch my ear. It's so yucky. Don't you dare touch it. Don't touch it. Look, it's so yucky. Don't you dare touch it. You got all the yuckies.
I'll try another one.
Don't you dare touch that ear. Don't you dare. Don't you. Okay. Don't.
Okay, I'm going to pause it there. So you get the idea.
Yeah.
He's in a playful tone telling him, don't you dare. And then when he does it, not only does he get that like drama, argumentative piece, but she's tickling him and giving him a lot of physical input too. So he's getting that need met through playing this game. And then she worked on teaching him how to request this game as well, making it very structured. Like, we're playing Don't You Dare. And then she would remind him throughout the day, remember, you can ask mommy for don't you dare. And that was part of the process for teaching him how to get that sensory need met.
واو. هي يعني الأم لاحظت إن الطفل ده بيحب السنسوري أو اللعبة أو الدغدغة والكلام ده، فقررت إن هي تستخدم ده في إن هي تعلمه حاجات زي مثلا دون تاتش ما تلمسي خالص مثلا مناخيري، فلما يلمسها تقوم ملعباه فورا. هي طبعا بتخدم هدف إن هي بتخليه يشتغل ويشاور على الحاجات اللي هي عايزاها، في نفس الوقت بتلعبه. ما تلمسي مثلا شعري، فهو يحاول يلمس شعرها ويحاول يتفاعل معاه، من هي اول ما يلمسها تقوم عامله هي الرياكشن ده معاه. فانا بشتغل على المعزات اللي الطفل بيحبها، وخصوصا اذا كانت حسيه، لو هو عايز ياخد حاجه ولا يهرب من حاجه، هو بس عايز شيء حسي، فده بيكون اقوى المعزات. دكتور, before we continue, what is the job of this mother?
She's their mom. She ended up doing, so she has an older son that's autistic as well. And she was his therapist because where they live, there were no good service options. So she did a lot of learning and training with me and with Mary Barbera with the verbal behavior approach, and just learned a lot. She's not a BCBA. She hasn't gone to school for this or anything. She's just done a lot of self-taught.
MashaAllah, she's not a therapist, and she can do that. That's very good.
Yeah, she's amazing.
I hope if she can see this video and be our complaint on her.
I will definitely let her know.
Okay.
So we had a little situation. I'm going to show you, this is the challenge. So we were making progress, but the challenging behavior was still happening. So this is another video of just, so you can see like some of the issues we were still continuing to experience.
Okay. الشوارع في أمريكا بايظة يا جماعة، مش عندنا بس يعني.
Wow, Brentley, nice work.
She's talking to her other son.
آه.
Oh, stack the leaves, Brentley. Good job.
Now, if she were to try to pick him up, he would have escalated and been more intense with his challenging behavior. That's why she's just having, like, he's just laying there. He's safe, even though it might look weird. But well, this is what he was doing when he was done. If he didn't want to keep doing something, he would just lay down or run away instead of, again, that functional communication. So we had yet another skill that we needed to work on teaching him.
واو. هي بتقول يعني أنا لاحظت كده في الفيديوهات اللي فاتت كلها، يا قائمة على المساومة اعمل ده واديك ده، أو قائمة على اللعب والدغدغة، أو قائمة على إنك تتجاهله، أو قائمة على التعزيز. في الفيديو ده هي بتعمل حاجة اسمها سيكر، يعني بتحاول إن هي تتجاوز اللي هو بيعمله ده، يعني لازم نقول بتسخر يعني، أو بتعمل حاجة عكس اللي هو بيعملها عشان تبين إن ده مش فارق معاه. يس دكتور.
So what we did here, this video is a little bit harder to see, but we did a little bit more with the non-contingent access, where, again, getting those sensory needs met and building information in to help support him with if he's feeling like he's needing to get physical input in his body. He doesn't need to throw a tantrum. He can do these other things that are safer. So mom called it going crazy, and she would tell him, like, let's go crazy, and help him learn that phrase to hopefully he would start requesting to go crazy instead of throwing tantrums when he was done with something, or just throughout the day he would sometimes still engage in these really intense tantrums, but it was to get this sensory need. So like I said, this one's a little harder to see.
Yeah. Okay. It's very dark. It's
Ready?
okay.
Yeah.
We can see.
She's squishing him in like a giant beanbag right now.
I got you.
Out.
You ready to get out?
Yeah. Out eat.
Oh. That was silly. Oh.
Big monster.
I'm gonna skip it forward a little
Oh,
bit.
crazy.
Yeah.
She's filming and trying to
gonna
play with
jump
him.
or
That's
should
why
I
it's so hard to
squish
see.
Let's see you jump.
She gave him a reinforcement
Oh.
without any
There
Yeah,
you go.
so we did these scheduled like
Yeah.
every hour.
I
She
want
would
squish.
try to do like going crazy with him to make sure he was getting enough of that input. And we found that if she forgot or something happened and he didn't get that input every hour, he would have these tantrums.
Wow.
Because it, like, for him, the only way he knew how to get the input was to just throw a fit, basically. Like, then he was physically getting that input in his body when he would throw himself to the ground.
Oh, squish me.
Okay.
So just to show you, like, as an example, he ends up jumping on the trampoline too, but she's doing a lot of this squishing. She's telling him, let's go crazy, and just trying to help him get that input. And then eventually, of course, we're hoping, and he did, that he will start requesting these types of activities himself. So she doesn't have to remember to do it every hour, that he would start getting his own needs met as he gets a little bit older.
طريقة من طرق التعديل كمان هي بدأت حاجة اسمها non contingent access، يعني بقت تديله الحاجة اللي هو عايزها كل ساعة بدون إصدار أي سلوك. مثلا عملت ساعة، الساعة مثلا 9 أنا هديك اللي أنت عايزه من غير ما تعمل أي سلوكيات، أو عملت فبديله بعد ساعة بديله بشكل مستمر عشان يحصل له إشباع منها. دكتور there is like a joke or question some therapist is saying the child in America also tired the mothers like Egypt.
Yeah.
Child is a
Yep.
child.
It's exhausting.
Yeah.
So this is a couple more videos. I have like 2 or 3 left. This one shows after we did all of this. And the reason I like showing this example it's one thing for me to show you all the textbook research. This is what FCT and behavioral skills training, this is how you do it, but it's not. I mean, you can see all the different things we're doing with this little boy. And he's not even one of the most difficult cases. There's a lot of problem solving and troubleshooting and individualizing that we have to do in order to be successful. So it's not just as simple as sitting down and like telling the child, what the different skills are and how to do it, and then he's just going to do it. There's a lot more that goes into it.
Wow. Okay. Let's see it.
I know you do. It's still cooking, so we need to just wait.
Okay.
That's a good job, waiting.
There's food.
Huh?
There's food.
I know. It's still cooking, so just wait.
Okay.
That's a nice job being calm. Can you show me 3 calms? 1,
واو.
2.
طريقة للتحكم في الذات كمان، دي آخر
Very
مرحلة.
nice, Lincoln.
واو.
You're such a good boy. It's still cooking. Yeah, it's still cooking. Just wait. Just wait.
So he's asking for whatever food. So you see this, like, remember at the beginning when he had to wait and he was told no, he threw a fit. And now that we have the full intervention in place, he's learned how to say okay when she tells him to wait. They've been working on emotional regulation. So you saw the deep breaths that they were taking there. And she's giving him the non-contingent access to the crashing and don't you dare. But we had to have all of that in place to see this type of final, response from him. If we didn't have all of those different components, he probably would have still, had some sort of challenging behavior when she told him the food wasn't ready.
واو. يعني شفتوا يا جماعة بصراحة تحليل السلوك التطبيقي عمل إيه؟ يعني ال FCT وال BST شفتوا عمل إيه في الطفل؟ ما شاء الله من أول ما كان هو بدأ بنوبة عصبية 3 ساعات لحد ما هو بيصبر على إن مامته لما يطلب منها شيء قالت له أنت تنفس 3 مرات، فخد نفس 3 مرات وهدي خالص وقالت له هروح أجيبها واجي وهو منتظر كل ده بدون نوبات غضب. فبصراحة منبهر. يس دكتور.
So I have 2 more. This is where so his family would go, they do snowboarding, and when he was done, he would just run off. So right here, you'll get to see a really good combination of behavioral skills training and functional communication training, where mom is teaching him how to say all done and what he can do when he's done. So he doesn't just run away from them while they're snowboarding.
Okay. ده فيديو هيجيب me. This is example of PST and FCT in the same video. Okay.
Yep.
ده مثال لل PST and والfunction communication training في فيديو واحد. Yes.
Done sledding, Lincoln. What do? Do you run away?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Do you run away?
No.
No. When we're all done sledding, we sit down and wait. And you can say,
So this is the BST part. She's explaining to him what he can do when he's done sledding, and she's having him practice saying that he's done. So they're just sitting at home, he's eating a sandwich, and they're talking about this.
ال PST
I'm all
حاولت
done.
تفهمه احنا بنعمل ايه، هتقعد دلوقتي هتسوي كذا وعلمته ودربته يعمل ايه.
You're going to get lost? That's a bad idea. That's not what we do. Lincoln, when you're all done sledding, you say, I'm all done. What do you say?
All done.
So when you're done sledding, you say,
All done.
and then we sit,
Nah.
and then we sit down and wait, and we can have a snack or listen to a song. What's going to be your choice when you're all done? You think you're going to sit down and maybe eat some pretzels?
Nah.
Huh?
Nah.
Or eat a cookie?
Nah.
What are you going to do when you're all done? Eat a sandwich? You're going to eat pretzels when you're all done sledding? Okay, when you're all done sledding, you can eat pretzels, but you need to say,
Okay.
we're all done.
All done.
When you're done sledding, you can say,
Okay.
do you run away?
Run away.
Do we run away? No, we don't.
No, I don't.
Do we run away?
No, I don't.
No, we don't. Okay.
So you can see he's not answering her. I mean, he's only 2 or 3 in these
I
videos,
think
so
he
he's
did
not
a speech therapy
exactly,
also.
but it's it's the process. It's giving him that exposure to it and practicing it with him before they're actually in the environment where he's been running away. So that the BST part is her explaining it to him and having him practice it. And then the FCT part is what he's saying and doing. So saying all done, and then, you know, eating some pretzels or whatever, listening to a song. Those are the replacement behaviors that we're working on instead of running away.
يعني لو انتوا لاحظتوا في الفيديو ده هتلاقيها جمعت المراحل اللي فاتت كلها. في البي اس تي هي بتعلمه سلوك معين المفروض ان هو يعمله، يقعد او يقف او يجي او ياكل ازاي. الفانكشن بيهيفير المفروض لو الفانكشن سوري كوميونيكيشن تريننج بتعلمه ازاي لما هو يخلص ساندوتش يقول ايه او يعمل ايه او يرفض ازاي. هي بتعلمه طريقه تواصل مع سلوك جديد. يس دكتور.
So this is the final video. You'll get to see him do the all done while they're out sledding and snowboarding.
اوكي ده فيديو اخير للطفل تقريبا، هو بقى كويس في الفيديو خالص يعني. واو.
Good catch, Linky. Here we go. Almost there. Almost there. You did it, Lincoln! Ready? You did it!
Oh.
Yahoo!
He is black here? What
You
is
want some
this?
pretzels now? Huh?
He wears something? Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
are you
it's
all done
covered.
sledding?
Yeah, I can see him now.
Good job! You want some pretzels now?
Yeah!
Yeah! Say it again. Yeah!
It's very cold where they are, so they're
Oh.
snowboarding.
شخص
So
متعاون
she,
جدا بعد ما كان غير متحمس على الإطلاق. واو.
yeah, so she asked him, she's coaching him. It's not spontaneous yet, but she's stepping in. This is the high probability situation where if she didn't do that, if she just let him out of that snowboard, because he's strapped in with his boots, if she just let him out, he could run off. So she's using that, you know, as soon as he finishes, she's like, okay, are you all done? He says he's all done. She offers the pretzels, and then he doesn't run off. He engages in that replacement behavior and stays there with them.
واو. يعني الأم بصراحة رائعة جدا، أنا منبهر بيها والله، أخصائية ممتازة. في الفيديو الأخير خلاص الطفل بقى كويس، بدأ يستجيب ليها بعد ما اتعلم السلوكيات البديلة، بقى ما اتعلم سلوكيات جديدة، ويعني بدأ يعيش حياته بشكل طبيعي يعني. أوكي دكتور.
Before we talk about demand fading, because I don't have videos and it's a little bit different from these two, are there major questions that we want to go through?
حد عنده أي
questions?
سؤال في الجزئية دي ولا نروح على ثالث جزء اللي هو الديمون فيدنج؟ Okay, let's continue and in the last we can take that question.
Okay. So demand fading it sounds a little bit odd, but it's basically where you're slowly increasing the amount of demands being presented based on the level of participation and engagement from the client. So these are some references that talk about demand fading. Again, if I have these, I'll send them to you. So there's Pace and Ivansick are the first authors that wrote about this procedure, and then Piazza, Mose, and Fisher in 1996. These articles are older and they used more extinction-based procedures, but I've used demand fading very successfully without really needing to incorporate extinction with this either. Oh, and then sorry, Ringdahl et al. In 2002.
Okay, I need to be sure about what I understand about demon defeating. Is demon defeating is like if some child is do like 1 or 2 or 3 papers for homework, and I'm trying to let him make 5 papers or 6 papers like this.
Yes, and I have like more information on a future slide, but the basic definition is that we're slowly increasing what we're expecting of the clients based on how actively engaged they are.
اوكي، بنحاول ان احنا نقلل المساعده للطفل او بنخليه اعتمادي على نفسه بشكل كبير عن طريق ان انا بزود له المطالب، بدل ما يعمل حاجه يعمل حاجتين، او ان انا بزود له الصعوبه بدل ما كانت سهله برفع له الليفل بتاعها او بزود الجهد في الاستجابه. يس دكتور.
Oh, sorry. And there's one more study, but oh my goodness, there's quite a few. I will make sure I send them to you if I have them. All right.
اوكي.
So there's different types of demand fading. You can, let me get these up first. Okay. You can increase the number of demands that you're presenting in a time period. So you could go like in a 30-minute time frame, you only present one demand. That goes well. The person is actively engaged, relaxed, no challenging behavior. So then the next day you might do 2 demands in a 30-minute period. And you work on increasing how many demands you can present in a specific period of time. You can also increase the difficulty of the demands. There's plenty of children where they'll do what people ask of them and they'll be actively engaged if the perceived response effort is low. But as soon as you do something where they're like, that's too hard, no thank you, they'll engage in challenging behavior. So you look at what are the types of things they're avoiding, and you slowly increase how difficult the demands are. And then the response effort required kind of ties in with difficulty as well, but this looks more at like physical response effort. So like the article from Wilder in 2013, they looked at how close things were. So having a child walk 1 step to get to something versus walk across the room. So like the physical response effort of that you're looking at. There could be others, but those are the 3 main ones that I've seen that are, you know, commonly used in practice.
اوكي. عشان الديموند فيدنج فيها 3 انواع. اول نوع ان انا بزود عدد المطالب في الوقت. يعني مثلا هو كان بيعمل مثلا 10 حاجات في ساعه، فانا اقول له لا المفروض تعمل 12 حاجه في الساعه، بزودها. او ان انا بزود في الصعوبه بتاعت الحاجه. مثلا كنت بديله مثلا جمع رقمين فخليه جمع 3 ارقام ب3 ارقام. زياده جهد الاستجابه، يعني الحاجه مثلا بدل ما كانت قريبه منه لا ببعدها، بدل ما كان مثلا شغال بآلة حاسبه لا بخليه يشتغل بنفسه، وهكذا. يس دكتور.
One other thing I want to say before we go to the next slide, what is our definition of demand? It's anything that that person doesn't want to do, essentially. Like you're asking something of them, but it could be like a lot of people will think of, you know, the different questions we present and like training trials we do, but it's really anything. I've had clients where the demand was me handing them something because they wanted to be in control of what was happening in the environment. So if I turned on the light instead of them, or if I handed them something instead of them picking it up themselves. So it really, like how we define a demand is looking at what are the things that this person does not like that they need to be able to do. And it's not just that they don't like to do it, but they need to be okay with it. Like not letting anyone turn on the lights but themselves is not realistic. But if it was something like they don't want to eat broccoli, I mean, you know, I'd be nice if they would, but I'm not going to make them. So we have to look at the social validity of it as well and make sure that we're, you know, working on stuff that's relevant.
اوكي. الديمون دي قالت هي كل حاجه الانسان مش عايز يعملها او بيجد صعوبه ان هو يعملها او مش قادر يتاقلم معاه. فانا بعد ما ادربه ببدا ان انا عشان اخليه يتعود عليها يا بزود له المطالب يا بزود له في الصعوبه يا بزود له في جهد الاستجابه. يس دكتور.
Okay. So these are the general steps for demand fading. The first thing you do is collect baseline data. And when you're collecting the baseline data, you're recording a few different things. One, are there any instructions or things presented by an adult that they're okay with, that they'll be actively engaged, that don't cause distress? Because we want to know what those are. 2, what are the things that cause distress when there are different instructions or different stimuli presented by an adult, by a teacher, by a parent that causes distress or that they're resisting, that they don't want to actively engage in? And you're also going to look at how often is that happening, because with some clients you'll see they're okay. Like if the adult chooses something and then they get a few minutes to do their own thing, and then the adult chooses something and then they get a few minutes to do their own thing, you don't see any challenging behavior. But if the adult is choosing too much and they don't get to choose, then you start to see the challenging behavior happen. So it's important to see what patterns exist around when they're not actively engaged or when they're experiencing distress as these instructions and different stimuli are presented. The second step is to develop the plan, and your plan will be developed based on your baseline data. Your plan should be that you're doing everything that keeps this person happy, relaxed, and engaged for the majority of the session, and then you're slowly fading in this part where they're, having difficulty navigating it. I've had clients where we did a 2-hour session and I completely followed their lead except for one time. One time I would choose and see if they're okay with that. Otherwise, I was like doing anything they wanted me to do the whole entire 2 hours. So the plan, again, is going to be based on the person and like what the unique situation is of what they're finding aversive and what they're having difficulty navigating. As you do this, you would collect data and see, if they're staying actively engaged with your current target, you can fade in the demands. You can increase whatever your target is. So you might increase the number of demands, you might increase the response effort. If you're seeing that they're not actively engaged, that they're resisting, they're not tolerating it, then you would need to take a step back and lessen how much you're presenting to them. So it's a little bit of a dance. Sometimes it's definitely a shaping process. And then you stop the procedure when you've reached a socially acceptable level of engagement. So if you're able to present the various different instructions or demands that need to be presented throughout your session, you can stop having a formal procedure in place and just focus on your, typical teaching.
Okay, I will translate the first 2 steps. Okay.
Okay.
بتقول الخطة الأساسية عشان أدرب على الديموند فيدنج. أول حاجة هقول لكم ال4 حاجات اللي مكتوبين، وبعد كده هنشرح أول 2 زي ما هي شرحتهم. أول حاجة بجمع البيانات الأساسية، ثم بطور الخطة، ثم بجمع البيانات، دي حاجة تانية غير جمع البيانات الأساسية، ثم بتوقف لما بحس إن خلاص الطفل بقى مستواه مساوي أو مقبول اجتماعيا. شرحت في أول حاجتين. أول حاجة في جمع البيانات الأساسية قالت المفروض إن أنا بعمل كام مرة الطفل او الكلاينت بيستجيب للسلوك اللي هو المتحدي او السلوك اللي احنا عايزين ندربه عليه، وبحسب ايه الاهميه والمطالب من السلوك ده، وكمان بحدد المعززات. ده لما باجي اجمع بيانات بشوف هو استجاب كام مره للسلوك ده، وبشوف ايه اهميه السلوك ده بالنسبه للمجتمع عشان بدربه على الاهم فالاهم، وبشوف المعززات بتاعته. قالت تاني حاجه في الخطوات الاساسيه ان انا بطور الخطه عن طريق ان انا بدمج التعزيز التفاضلي مع الاطفاء، يعني بخليه يعمل اكستنشن للحاجات اللي هو مش كويسه عايزين نضيفها عنده، وفي نفس الوقت بعززه على السلوكيات الحلوه الديفرنشال انفورسمنت. تاني حاجه بعلمه سلوكيات وظيفيه بديله بستخدم فيها FCT، اللي هو لما اتعب بطلب فتره راحه، او ان انا اقول لا ازاي، او ان انا اقول 1 minute او هكذا، بدربه عليها. وكمان بستخدم معاه التشكيل، يعني بجزء، او الشيبنج، يعني بجزء له الحاجه لخطوات بسيطه عشان يقدر يتقنها والاخر نلمها مع بعضها. Yes, doctor.
Okay. Do you want me to say the second 2 steps then?
You want to continue second one?
Do you want me to do the collecting data part again?
Yeah, collecting that. You said collecting data. Third one, you said it. Because I
Oh, it's okay. I went kind of fast this time.
Okay.
So the collecting data, you're just looking at, usually when I collect data on this, I'll have like whatever the instruction or demand was that was presented. And then I record whether or not the client was actively engaged or distressed. So if they're actively engaged, I know I can increase my expectations. I can increase my demands. If they're distressed or resisting or trying to escape, then I know I need to take a step back and lessen how many demands I'm presenting. So the data collection is really important in order to see when you can increase the number of demands or your response effort, whatever it is that, like, whatever aspect of demand fading you're working on.
اوكي. قالت في الخطوه الثالثه والرابعه. الخطوه الثالثه قالت انا المفروض بعد جمعت البيانات في الخطوه الاولى الاساسيه وطورت الخطه، الجمع البيانات دي رقم 3 بجمع بقى كم مرة هو استجابة صاحبة للسلوك اللي أنا علمته، استجابة الطفل للسلوك اللي أنا علمته، والمعزات اللي أنا قدمتها وجابت استجابة معاه بشكل كبير، وبنتقل للخطوة التانية أو على السلوك التاني أو الهدف التاني لما الطفل يحقق لي 3 حاجات أو 3 استجابات صحيحة من غير ما يعمل السلوك اللي فيه مشكلة. وآخر حاجة بتوقف عن التدريب في السلوك ده لما أحس إن هو خلاص بقى مطابق يعني أو شكل مقبول اجتماعي. Yes, doctor, I finished the 4.
Okay. And then I just have this last slide. I have an example demand fading plan that I'll put in the chat, and I can screen share because I think we have time,
Okay.
so that you can see what it looks like. Unfortunately, I don't have videos for this one. It's a little harder to have videos for. But let me get these things up. When you're using a demand fading process, it should be relatively fast. So even for clients where I could only present one demand in a whole 2-hour session, if I'm doing it right, and I am by the end of 5 to 10 sessions, it should be done. I should be at a point where I'm not even using this procedure anymore. If it's not moving quickly, then I need to reevaluate some things. I need to look at, do I know the function? Is that, do I properly have it identified? Like, are they really, because demand fading is used when clients are trying to escape from something or avoid something. So maybe I thought it was escape, but it's not. Maybe there's something else going on. Am I shaping it properly? Maybe I'm expecting too much and I'm trying to move too quickly, or maybe I'm not expecting enough and I'm trying to move too slow. With the other thing we need to look at is the reinforcers. Sometimes the behavior itself is reinforcing. So just engaging in that challenging behavior is reinforcing. So we might need to account for that. Like I showed you in the videos before with the little boy, where we were doing don't you dare and go crazy. We put in some non-contingent reinforcement so he could get that sensory input. And are the behaviors being used for, this should say active engagement, not compliance, but are the behaviors that are the reinforcers we're using strong enough? Maybe we're not creating a motivating enough environment to have that active engagement. Maybe it's, more reinforcing to escape and not be with me. So I need to look at that as well.
Do we can work as a FCT and BST and demand fading at the same time?
Yes, you can do all 3 at once. Oftentimes with clients that I've worked with, if I need to do demand fading, I'm usually doing that first, and it's part of building a relationship with them to show them I can be trusted. And I'm not going to come in and present a bunch of aversive things to them. I'm moving slowly and working based off of what they're comfortable with. And then I usually work in some BST and FCT. But if I have a client who's really trying to get away from me and does not want to actively engage with me, I can't really do BST or FCT. So the demand fading sometimes is a first step, and then sometimes you're doing all 3 together.
Okay. So next, I think I translate this one before you tell
Okay. So, well, like I said, that's all I have for the demand fading part because I wasn't sure how much we would get to, but I am. I'll bring these slides back up in a second. I just want to show you the sample plan because I think it makes it a little bit easier to understand, and I'll put the link in the chat too.
Okay.
All right, make sure I get the right one. Okay. So there's two different documents I'm going to put in. The first one's just 1 page. It's very old. I always give disclaimers. I don't change my documents from what they originally were because I like people to see what we had. So it does reference using extinction, but right now, like in 2024, I wouldn't necessarily use extinction. I would try to find different ways, but that's a whole separate, it's a whole separate discussion. So if you see that in there, you'll see it's focused more on compliance than active engagement. And so that's something I don't really do anymore. but you can still see the general part of like, how do we choose our demands and set our initial targets? And then the one that I'm going to screen share.
هي شاركت حاجة معاكم يا جماعة في المسج أو في الكومنت تحت عن الديموند فيدنج وعن ال FCT والحاجات دي كده، شوفوها يا ريت. هتشارك معاكم حاجة كمان دلوقتي.
Okay, I'm going to screen share this one because it's a little bit more, it's a little unique and it doesn't quite have as much of an extinction component. So this is the example I was giving before with the client who wanted to fully control the environment. So now when I have clients like that, I refer to it based on the research. There's research to show that people
like plan to the demon feeding, yes?
Yes, this is
Yeah,
so
دي زي خطة للديموند فيدنج بتعملوها ازاي يعني؟
Yeah. So he was just a kid that really loved to do things his own way. So he wanted to do things how he wanted to do them, and that was it. And if you tried to do it any other way, or you tried to share control, he would engage in challenging behavior. So our focus here was on really helping him understand how to have what we call a shared agenda or shared control. So the way that this is set up, the very first part is, it says phase 1. So this is where we started with him. And it shows the different steps that we went through. Obviously, you're more than welcome to translate this and share it, in Arabic if you want to.
هو الخطة دي يا جماعة موجود فيها الحاجات اللي احنا اتكلمنا فيها عن الديموند فيدنج بالترتيب. هي حاططها في فولدر وحاطط البيانات الأساسية زي اتفقنا احنا بنعمل الأول الترجمة أو سوري عن جمع بيانات عن الطفل، وبعد كده المعزات وإلى آخره، وهي حاطها كلها في الإيه في الخطة. Yes, doctor, continue.
Yeah, so I'm just going to point out something here, and I'll probably put a comment. All right, so like back when I wrote this, I'm just going to make a comment.
Let me see this one because the font is very small.
I know it's kind of hard to see. Let me see if I can zoom it in. There we go. So like down here, you can see it says if he tantrums or tries to regain control, ignore this behavior. Back when I wrote this plan in 2010, that's what I would have done. But now in 2024, I wouldn't have this in there. I would say like coach, provide support, like work on emotional regulation. So I made a comment about that.
And before, if the child engaged in self-integration, you left him?
If they were engaging in challenging behavior, we were trained, to ignore it and use extinction. But now I wouldn't.
The first,
yeah.
Now,
so I just made a note about that.
Okay.
So anyway, it shows you what our initial target was. So basically what we would do at first is we would present a situation to him, and we were doing it once every 15 minutes. So for example, I might pick up something, I might turn on a light, and I would remind him to stay calm or just tell him like, oh, it's my turn, I can do it. And then on the data sheet, we recorded whether or not he was okay with that. So our first target was just one loss of control every 15 minutes.
Okay, continue, doctor.
Then we moved, like that was the first month. And then in the second month, we were doing it every 3 minutes. So you can see we were able to move pretty quickly. We changed the target a little bit where we would do 1 out of the 3 trials. We were providing, still like reminding him that like, oh, I can do it, like things like that. And then we also started pulling in high probability and low probability. So things that he could do well, like he was, pretty consistent with actively engaging. We were prioritizing that, but we would also occasionally every 30 minutes present something that was like less likely that he would do, to see if we could help build up his responsiveness to the low probability demands.
Okay, doctor, did you send the new one and the old one in the chat? Yes.
Yes. Yep. So you're
اوكي
welcome to take these and translate them to Arabic.
هي بتقول يا
Yeah.
جماعه ان هي مثلا من 20 سنه كانت عامله خطه ودلوقتي عامله خطه، فوضحت لكم الفرق بينهم زي ما احنا قلنا في البدايه ان هم كانوا بيعتمدوا على الاكستنشن في البدايه، ثم يدرسوا الحاجه الثانيه فانكشنال بيهيفير او السلوك او السلوكيات الثانيه يعني، بس الاول كانوا بيعملوا اطفاء للسلوك ثم يعملوا سلوك جديد. لكن في الابحاث الحديثه قالت لا، انا ببدا في تعديل السلوك او سوري في الاف سي تي على طول بدون ما ارجع للاطفاء. بعت لكم خطتين، الخطه القديمه اللي كانت عامله فيها الحاجات دي والخطه الجديده عشان تعرفوا الفرق بينهم. يس دكتور.
So just this last part, we were basically having to differentiate as we went through the process, the different types of demands. So you can see it's a little bit more specific when we were looking at his data, and there were certain types of demands that he would respond to and certain types of demands that he wouldn't. So I have again that they can present a low probability demand every 30 minutes, but any other type of instruction every 3 minutes. And then I also told them like that if they presented anything that required a vocal response and he didn't answer, they could just leave it. They didn't need to try to make him respond to that because we were seeing some issues there. Again, you'll see in each of these that I'm telling them to use extinction because, again, that's what we were doing in 2010. But now my plans would look different. I wouldn't necessarily incorporate extinction. And his was a little bit longer of a process because of this whole like control situation. But our last phase happened in June. So it took 3 months to get to the point where we could have more of like what we were looking for with the low probability demands. So we were able to increase to 2 low probability demands in a 30-minute period. And then we were working on getting to the point of 5 low probability and 5 high probability in a 30-minute period, which was more realistic for his age and what we were working on.
هي دكتورة بالظبط شرحت بتعمل ايه في الخطة يعني بشكل تدريجي. انا بقدم المعزز امتى، بقدم الديموند فيدنج امتى، بعد قد ايه، طب امتى بسحبه، طب لو حصلت شروط مشكل او حصلت مثلا حاجة طارئة بعمل ايه، طب بستخدم برامج ايه زي الفي بي ماب هي كاتبة، طب بستخدم الاستراتيجي دي. ده بالظبط اللي موجود في الخطة بتاعتها اللي هي بعتتها. يس دكتور.
All for the document. Like I said, feel free to translate it. It'll be probably a little easier to understand. So
Yeah.
I'll go back to this just like ending slide and we'll do questions and answers. This is my email. I also have a lot of free resources. They're all in English. So but if you want them, and especially
they want, I think.
feel free to scan the QR code. If you don't have a way to scan the QR code, if you just go to my website at the top, there's a thing that says free resources. Just click on that.
بتقول يا جماعة اعملوا سكان للكود ده أو ادخلوا على الموقع هتلاقوا حاجات كتير جدا. هي عندها موقع خطير بصراحة، عليه كمية محاضرات رهيبة وشهادات مجانية كمان للكيو بي اي أو البي سي بي اي يعني بشكل كتير، فما شاء الله يعني عليها. فادخلوا على الكيو ار كود ده أو ادخلوا على الموقع هتلاقوا حاجات كتير. دكتور there is a question say when I'm trying to teach the child a good behavior and the child is be good or perfect in and the bad behavior is extension has extended يعني, then suddenly the behavior is coming again. Why?
Well, there could be a variety of reasons, but there's a couple of things that I usually look at. One is if you are using extinction, meaning that when they're engaging in the challenging behavior, they don't get anything. What I've found is often they'll stop engaging in that behavior, but it's not because they've learned anything. It's because of how we're manipulating the environment. And if we truly want the behavior to change, we need to make sure we're fully assessing what it is they need to learn. And that's why I created the mastery kit. So we're not often trained in behavior analysis to comprehensively look at all of the different things that need to be learned, like the emotional regulation skills, especially. So usually when I've had clients where they're engaging in the bad behavior, or they're continuing to be unsafe at some point, it's because they don't have the emotional regulation skills to navigate aversive experiences in the environment. And when we work on that, when we teach them the emotional regulation skills and we help build the variety, it could be emotional regulation, it could be executive functioning, there's a few other things it could be. When we really focus in on that skill development and focus less on manipulating the environment, we see that the challenging and unsafe behavior starts to go away on its own.
اوكي، هو طبعا ما سمعتش النت كان فصل عندي، بس انا سمعت اخر 3 حاجات. وهشرح لك انا من شرحي انا. يعني هو السلوك بيرجع ان احنا عندنا حاجه اسمها spontaneous recovery، او يعني بعد السلوك ما يتم اختفائه يرجع يحصل مره كمان عشان يشوف هل هيحصل نفس رد الفعل من المعالج ولا لا. وقالت ان انا كمان مش ببص للسلوك بس، ببص كمان للمهارات اللي المفروض الطفل يتعلمها والبيئه والتحديات اللي حواليه. لان ربما لو كانت المهاره اعلى من الطفل فيبدا هو يعمل سلوكيات غلط عشان يغطي على، مش عارف يتعلم المهارة دي صعبة عليه. زي مثلا حد عنده 2 سنين وانت بتعلمه هدف لحد عنده 6 سنين، فطبيعي يتضايق. كمان بتبص للبيئة، بتبص للحاجات اللي هي المفروض في البيئة هتقدر تساعده ان هو ما يعملش السلوك ده. وكمان التحديات، يعني تبعده قدر الامكان عن الاشخاص او الاوقات او الاماكن اللي بتسبب السلوك ده في بداية لو لقيت السلوك يعني بيطلع منه. يس دكتور.
Oh, that's it. That's my answer
Yeah,
for
there
that
is other.
question.
Sorry, there is other question. What is the normal prompt? يعني I should start by what, then what, then what?
For demand feeding or
Prompt.
for what?
For prompt.
For prompting? Is that what you're saying?
Like yeah, prompt. Yes, physical,
Okay.
full physical,
Uh,
partial physical. How
Yeah.
how we can work on it?
So for me, it really obviously depends on the client. I usually focus really heavily on what's called priming, which again is a thing that's not typically taught in our programs, but it's in the literature with the Kegels and their research on pivotal response. They talk about priming to teach social skills and shopping and other like bigger out in the community skills. And it's very similar to behavioral skills training where you're teaching beforehand what's the expectation. In our field, I don't know what happened, but something happened where teaching disappeared. So we see kids being sat down at a table and asked questions, or we see behavior plans implemented and the environment is changed based on that behavior plan, but there's no explicit instruction happening. So I focus less on a prompting hierarchy and more on making sure we're using explicit instruction and we're priming and teaching before we expect any sort of response. So for example, if I was trying to, just like you saw in the videos, when I'm trying to teach the replacement behavior, I'm telling them beforehand, hey, when you want to be done with something, say all done. Or, if you don't like something, go like
You
this.
start
And that's all
by
priming.
verbal. يعني usually you
It can
start
be
by
verbal, it can be pictures, it just depends on the client. But the key is you're explaining and teaching before you expect a response. So a lot of times, people, when they're using errorless learning or they're using trying to use a prompting hierarchy, they ask the child the question or they put them in the situation and then they start trying to prompt. Prompting is not teaching. Prompting is prompting. Teaching needs to happen first. Where you're actually teaching, this is what you do, this is how you do it, or these are your colors and all that kind of stuff. There needs to be actual teaching happening. And then once that's done, most of the clients I work with, if I'm doing a good enough job with my lesson and teaching and checking for understanding as I'm teaching, I don't really need to worry about prompting hierarchies. They're learning because I'm teaching, I'm saying, hey, this is a cup, what is this? And then cup. Or this is a pen, what is this? And then they say pen. Or when you're done, you say all done. What do you do when you're done? And we practice all of that when they're not even in the situation. When we've practiced it and I've taught it, they go into the situation, they do it.
اوكي، اختصارا هي بتقول يعني ان انا بعتمد على حالة الطفل، بشوف هو عايز ايه وببدأ معاه اطفال ربما بتلقين اللفظي بيعدوا، وفي اطفال لا هبدا معاهم من التلقين الجسدي وهكذا. لكن بتقول هي بترجح في البدايه انك تبدا بتعليم الطفل. والله ما استجابش ساعتها تبدا تساعده، ما تبداش بالمساعده على طول، لان المساعده هي المساعده. اوكي. فابدا الاول باعطاء المهمه كامله للطفل، وشوفه هيقدر يعمل ايه، وساعده في الباقي بالطريقه اللي انت شايفها صح. يعني انت شايف ان هو انا هبدا معاه من الكبير للصغير، او من الصغير للكبير، او اخد جزء من النص. يعني ممكن اساعده بالفيزيكال، او ممكن اساعده بالاقل حاجه خالص، او اساعده بالحاجه في النص. مفيش مشكله، المهم حسب احتياج الطفل. I don't know what can I say to you, doctor. We decide about to stay like 1 hour, 1 hour and a half, but you give us like يعني more from your time. I know you are very busy and your schedule is very crowded, but we are thank you so much about that, and we hope we can see you someday in Egypt to teach us يعني face to face إن شاء الله, or we will come to America.
Yes. Well, I am going to be in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai in January. I'm presenting at a
January.
conference.
Where,
Yeah.
what conference?
I'll put the link in the chat. Let me stop the screen share real quick. It's
Okay.
the Able UK. I have to find.
بتقول ان هي هتكون في الامارات ان شاء الله في دبي في شهر يناير الجاي لحضور مؤتمر. What kind of conference?
It's celebrating their 10-year anniversary, or what they've been providing services in Dubai, and it has an
You
official
have a
name, and I
center. You
feel
have
bad
center
that I
in
don't.
Dubai?
No, I don't. I'm just presenting. It's called the Decade Summit, and they have occupational therapists. They have me
What
as
the name of the center? Do you remember it?
Able UK.
Able.
Mm-hmm.
Able. Could you spell it?
ABLE. I'm trying to
Okay.
find the actual. Oh, here we go.
Yeah,
Here's
please.
the.
If you find it, also, could you send it to me in WhatsApp?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Okay.
I did a training a while ago in Dubai, like 2018, I think. And one of the people came to it. His name's Robin, and he came to that training. So he invited me to come do a training for them. So
Yeah.
it's not just me. There's it's a 2-day training. It's on the 18th and 19th of January, or 17th and 18th. Yeah. 18th and 19th of January. And it's a variety of different people presenting that work with special needs. So it's not just ABA. There's a variety of different folks that are presenting.
All special needs.
Yep.
It's a free or paid?
No, it's a paid
Yeah.
event. Yeah. I don't know if they have any, like, you could obviously reach out and
I would
contact
try
them
to
if they
speak
have
with
any.
them about that. Yeah. Okay, doctor. Thank you so much about your
You're
time,
welcome.
and inshallah we'll see you soon as
Yes.
possible. Inshallah. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
And
everyone.
have a nice. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
السلام عليكم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.